The Walt Disney Company found a way to charge for new rides, even though you've already gotten into the park and paid for your tickets. Well, now it seems that is going away. In a surprisingly quiet announcement, meaning it didn't come from Disney itself, it seems that Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind are getting away from the controversial and lame virtual queue system. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is my good friend VashSky. Vash, we recorded this already, and there's already an update to the story. Do you want to talk about it?
Absolutely. Apparently, I guess Cosmic Rewind might be added to early entry?
Exactly, right there. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind added to Epcot early entry perk later this month. I guess that means, is that... They don't call it extra magic hours anymore, do they? Some other name for it. But anyways, when you get in early to Epcot, they're now adding this as something to get you to get that early access. I've heard the queue for Cosmic Rewind is exceptionally short. I have not ridden this one because I don't want to puke all over my fellow guests. Vash, have you been on Cosmic Rewind?
I have, and it's pretty intense. If you are somebody who has issues with these type of attractions in general, just like coasters, this is going to be your worst friend, enemy. I'm not sure, but you definitely won't ride this if you have those issues.
It's a spinny coaster, which is also apparently what they're doing with Fast and the Furious, Hollywood Drift out there at Universal Studios Hollywood. I don't like that particular trend in roller coasters. I can understand fast, I can understand high, but spinning on the roller coaster, I'm a no for that. But anyways, we want to talk about virtual queue and what it did to the theme park experience, and let's do that about right now. We have something to talk about that we've actually been waiting for a long time. In fact, I would say I've asked for this to happen. This out of Blog Mickey. Disney World announces end of virtual queues at Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This is breaking news. I'm not playing the breaking news graphic because we don't have time for it. Vash, do you want to tell people what's going on?
Absolutely. So these are the virtual queues attached to Cosmic Rewind and Tiana's Bayou Adventure getting lifted. What's a virtual queue? Virtual queue is a way to experience these attractions without what they say 10-hour standby lines or whatever. In reality, it is a way to limit the supply of people that can actually ride an attraction like Cosmic Rewind and like Tiana's Bayou Adventure by having guests actually come back at a preset time in order to experience this attraction. To be honest, the method of doing this is actually it actually is more guest facing than it is a benefit for Disney, at least when an attraction opens, right? Because the sheer demand, sheer volume of guests that want to ride an actual attraction, and again, these are very supply constrained items that we do want to ride as guests. This is a way to mitigate just how long these queues can actually be. So in that end, it is a deep benefit right here. It's for something like Cosmic Rewind. Please.
You say this is for new attractions, but when did Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind?
I see. That's the issue, right? Because I only believe the virtual queue is up to a certain point, probably a couple of weeks just to handle that just huge swell of demand. But again, Cosmic Rewind, the opening date of Cosmic Rewind, I want to say it was, let me see, May 27, 2022. Ooh, that's a long time. That's almost, 3 years right there. That's a little bit too long for a virtual queue to actually be on. And here's the issue, folks. You see, it's not just you walk up to the attraction, get your virtual queue, and you come back. Oh, no. They have 1, 2, or as many as 3 drops is what they call them, where the virtual queue process goes live. Some cases at 7 in the morning that you have to wake up for, and you have to, collect all your party's tickets and so forth. And then you attempt in this lottery type system to get access to either Cosmic Rewind or Tiana's Bayou Adventure in this particular instance. And if you aren't lucky enough to get that drop there are other instances in which you can get like a single pass lightning lane and get access that way. Or if you're staying at a deluxe resort, you might have another chance at another drop, at least for Cosmic Rewind. So it's a pretty convoluted process, but for a brand new attraction, it's not the worst thing in the world. The problem, though, is that these attractions open months, sometimes, in this case, years ago, and they outlived their usefulness, I feel. And that might have been Disney's attempt to, push a little lightning lane action on the side there.
So what you're saying here is what can you do if you don't get in on a virtual queue? How can someone enjoy a ride like Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind or Tiana's Bayou Adventure?
That's the thing. You have to purchase a lightning lane in order to get access to these specific attractions, and those are the only ways that these attractions can actually be ridden. There is no other way because they're attempting to gradually see the supply for these attractions saturated, which, something for like Cosmic Rewind, for example, you're probably talking about something that's well over 2,000 people an hour, probably because of its dual load system and its coaster type setup. So for a 12-hour operating day, you're only talking about 24,000 people that can even ride that attraction. So this is why they're attempting to mitigate the crush of people coming in the mornings and so forth.
So looking at this and the fact that it sounds like that Lightning Lane Premier Pass, the $450 add-on, which by the way, that's going to be raising in price again. It went down to $350 this month, and it will be going back up soon. It sounds like that is considered a success, and they're continuing to expand that. If they're getting rid of virtual queue, which you have to access through Lightning Lane Multipass, if this is the first time you're hearing about any of these things, including virtual queue, I apologize. It's Disney's fault for making it complicated.
Yes.
Do you think that this is a move by the parks to get Lightning Lane Premier Pass as the only skip the line option and get away from your virtual queues and your Lightning Lane multi-passes that are, in my thinking, the things that are actually strangling the park here? Is this a good first step, or is this something, because as far as I'm aware, these are the only virtual queues that were left at the park. Is this a good step, or is this just a sign that they're going to be doing these again whenever Villains Land opens up? They're going to be going back on virtual queues and trying to monetize these rides and get back to a pay per use system.
This is seemingly what their goal's been for a long time, is to not only charge a gate price of something like $200, but to charge you an additional ticket price going back to the previous to the late 70s, when you had the ticket is your ride ticket for the whole day. They are absolutely trying to over monetize everything. The appearance that I think the outsider is having is that Disney's very greedy. I don't think anybody can argue with that. And there have always been attractions that at 2,000 guests per hour, are going to have lines, but people are willing to either stand in a standby or not. And first come, first serve has always been the best way to ensure fair, balanced attendance or the opportunity to ride on a given attraction. So, if you're a sleep-in family, you're going to be waiting in a line. If you're a rope drop family, maybe not quite as much of a line. But
right. Well, this puts the burden on whoever is the planner for the entire group. And
right.
I was so disappointed when I showed up to do Rise of the Resistance. Does Rise of the Resistance still have virtual queue?
I believe it has had its virtual queue lifted, so I believe these were the only remaining virtual queues on property, but I might be wrong about that.
So it increases the demand for the ride and the willingness of people to pay for it. At that time, they didn't have Lightning Lane Multipass or Genie Plus or whatever. So we were perfectly willing to stand in a 3-hour line, or at least consider it. And we went to try to ride Rise of the Resistance and were denied the ability to do that. I think there's a lot of guests who would just like to say, okay, I am willing to consider waiting in this line. And when you steal that option away from them, it becomes a have-nots situation. It's like when you arrive and you find a perfect spot for watching fireworks, and then you find out, no, this has been reserved for the rich folks. This has been reserved for the people who have gone into debt in order to get this space. It's a dirty feeling in my opinion. I don't like it at all. And I think that it's turning these into an elitist luxury product. So I would say this is a good step for the parks to get away from these virtual queues. I don't know if they're going to get away from them altogether.
Well, and again, I mean, I always look at it like what benefit does this have to the consumer? And they have not really been able to demonstrate that, other than maybe the first few days or a couple of weeks that something's open, as Vash mentioned. I think the argument could be made to mitigate traffic in a given area and to hold down disappointment. If you set up a virtual queue, then you've mitigated some of that negative publicity that you would otherwise have. This isn't, you're looking at attractions that have like huge capacity. When you look at Tiana's Bayou Adventure, that is one of the biggest one of the biggest capacities you can have in an attraction. A log flume ride that lasts as long as it does, it's unheard of. It was Disney's best, most favorite attraction for guests, and they put an artificial scarcity to it because they wanted to run this ride at a particular speed because they didn't plan well for the interior, experience. They tried to turn Tiana's Bayou into the Frozen attraction at Epcot, and that's where their failing began. They didn't know how to plan for it, and their targeted timings and everything else just didn't work well.
I think the monetization aspect of this, I can't be understated. There is always a monetization aspect to just about anything the Walt Disney Company does, especially as it relates to the parks, because, well, the parks fund all their pet projects, like, hey, Captain America Brave New World, for instance, or Snow White. You have to saturate all the money that you possibly can out of systems like this. But Culture's right, though. When a virtual queue outlives its usefulness, there is this idea of artificial scarcity in which you have an attraction that might not be able to function as efficiently or to saturate or absorb as many guests as it possibly could if it were not on virtual queue. So that's the other kind of issue that you have with it. Sorry about that. Some road noise out there. So it's a very kind of complicated system right here. I think what's going on here is a couple of things. One is Test Track is going to be down for Epcot. So they obviously need, operationally, I think they need a little bit of capacity shore up for that. And when you have Cosmic Rewind taken out via virtual queue, that is an impediment to that. Tiana's Bayou Adventure demand, I think, has dropped off considerably. So I think that's what's ruling that aspect of it. And you have Epic Universe that's going to be coming online very, very soon and will offer a very uncomplicated experience as compared to Disney. So if people are coming to these places for the first time, do you really want to have the impression of virtual queues and all this kind of digital nonsense? Or do you want to have access to these pretty easy, especially when compared to Epic? That's the question you got to ask. Culture, go ahead.
No, I was going to agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, and in a completely different monetization scheme that doesn't feel so rapacious. When you compare it to Disney, yeah, Epic's going to be that. I mean, you're going to be able to go to these amazing experiences, and while you may be limited in your day that you can go there because it's going to be such huge demand, and you'll have to have a 3-day ticket. But hey, all that does is reintroduce people to the idea that Universal is a phenomenal experience with much less planning, and just a better off the see your pants kind of experience, which is what Disney used to be until they introduced, as you mentioned, all this electronic mumbo jumbo nonsense. I mean, Express Pass is easily utilized if you want to go through the pay-to-play ticketing system, but it's not at the same level of expense. So again, I guess with a family that wants to wait in lines can, and you know what you're getting there, and guests who want to have a skip the line, well, those are limited, and guests can elect to do that or not. So my advice to everybody that's looking at Epic Universe, be prepared to be spoiled in terms of not having your wallet destroyed little bits at a time when you go to Universal, which is why we are praising them, and we are not so high on Disney now.
Yep, I agree. There's a lot to be positive about Epic at the moment, and even when Disney announces something good, it's still like, okay, but can you put something in the park successfully first so that we can believe that you will do what you say you're going to do. We got one more super chat from Cohen Film for $20. 60s and 70s Disneyland was amazing. I wish that I could go back and experience it. And also I wish that I could go through with an iPhone in the Monsanto exhibits and the Hall of Aluminum, things like that. But thank you very much for the very generous super chat. We are about to head out. Talk to you later. Keep it real, and stay tuned to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.